Well, good afternoon, LinkedIn Live. So today we're going to be talking about e-invoicing and industry trends as a prelude really to the e-invoicing exchange summit, which is going to be taking place in Dublin from the 2nd to the 4th of October. And I'm delighted to be joined by co-chair of ISPA and CEO of Pagero, Bengt Nilsson. Welcome,
Thank
Bengt.
you. Thank
Thanks for
you.
joining us today.
Yeah, great.
So it seems like e-invoicing mandates are being rolled out thick and fast across Europe and globally, really. Um, what do you think the drivers are for that? And I guess why now in particular?
I need to be a little bit blunt. It's money, as always.
Okay.
It's about taxes. It's about getting a fair handling of the tax in different countries of the world.
Mm,
As we know, that politicians need money to do what they do, and it should be done in such a way so everybody is contributing. That's what they want, and
mm,
by doing it electronically, we get you better control, but you also get better accuracy, and
mm.
you can sort of get it. You could say fair development of the tax scheme instead of unfair.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess that makes sense. Companies need the tax revenue, etc., and e-invoicing is one way to try and secure that.
yeah.
Um, but we've heard that the timeline for e-invoicing mandates in France, for example, has taken a step back from the projected timeline of July 2024. Do you think that people were a bit too optimistic, or maybe they didn't quite appreciate all the complexities involved? Do you have an insight into the reasons?
No, I don't have any insight to the French discussion, but we could say that I think it's good that they have a bold view at it. They do it, and that the time
Mm,
frame is not too far away, because then people tend to wait, and then it will
mm,
be chaos anyway. So it's better to push it a little bit towards us, and then put it in later in time. But I
mm,
think that. Uh, it is more complex than people think when they first look at it and put it on a napkin. What are we going to do? Uh,
mm,
so I think it's good to take the time to get it well set up, to think about all the issues for the small companies and for the
mm,
bigger one, and then the huge ones that are operating international and so on. So I think it's wise to do it. If they want to wait a couple of months, they should do it.
mm.
But I think it's good to have a schedule that is tight anyway. So
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, I think looking at it from an outside perspective, I think you're right. There has to be something to work towards. Otherwise, everything just floats away and it never happens.
yeah,
But it's interesting hearing you say that it's probably, or you should be talking about a couple of months rather than sort of years down the line. Because I guess essentially then the same thing happens, doesn't it? Nothing
yeah,
happens and it sort
yeah.
of drags along.
We know how we work as humans. If
Yeah,
we get
exactly.
if we get a reason to wait, we wait.
That's true. So it needs
Yeah,
some kind of deadline there to
yeah.
work towards. Um, so I introduced you at the beginning of our conversation as the co-chair of ISPA. And last year at the e-invoicing exchange summit, we heard about a collaboration between ISPA and PEPL. So what's happened since that time?
We have discussed a lot. We have
Hmm.
started an incubation project, which is the goal to see
Hmm.
what we can do that we benefit from all that are involved. I mean, the service providers are both sponsors of the Peppel project, but also they're working with it actually all over the world. So
Mm,
they are having a lot of input that is needed or necessary to spread good things with Peppel, and
mm.
that's what we're doing. And the work is proceeding in a good way.
Good, because and it's great hearing that sitting in the audience as I was last year. It's great to hear that that kind of collaboration is taking place because it seemed to be something that would make sense for the value of the whole sort of e-invoicing community and the customers thereof. Um, but obviously creating true interoperability is going to be the key to success, isn't it? Do you think that that's still somewhat of a pipe dream, or do you think it really, really can happen in the coming months and years ahead?
I mean, we are getting into technology now. You know, we need to get this right, and of
Mm,
course there are obstacles to do it, and there are some of the service providers are further in that development than others, and so on, as it
mm,
always is. But I think it's a necessary development. We are not talking only about interoperability when it comes to invoices. We're talking about all the business processes that we
yeah.
operate globally with, and
Mm,
as we all know, everything is linked together. We produce things in different parts of the world,
mm,
and if you believe that economy and trade is beneficial for people,
mm,
this interoperability is a key here to really dramatically draw down the administrative cost that we have, and also
yeah.
predictability, I would say.
And that's the key, isn't it? Creating those kind of certainties for business is really, really essential, isn't it? And I guess being able to have a look down into your supply chain and into your e-invoicing makes that much more likely to happen, doesn't it? Especially now we've got these high interest rates that we're dealing with, and supply chain disruptions, etc.
Definitely, you're right.
Um, so do you think that hearing you speak, do you think that companies are prepared or adequately prepared for what's coming towards them?
I think in a way, I mean, all companies have an ERP system or a business systems that they
Mm,
operate with, and they know the issues they've had with that and get that functional and get that up and
mm,
running. They also know that the critical thing is getting the right data into these systems and have correct data that
mm,
makes these systems work. And they have invested tons of money in this. And if you can sort of operate it with your supplier base or your customer base directly connected with real-time data being flowing without having any documents or papers in the way, you are much more efficient. You are much
mm,
better.
mm,
And so I think everybody wants to do it and everybody is up to it. It will drive down cost. I mean, if we look at the manufacturing site today in the world, it's fairly efficient. They have a good MRP system, they're doing it correct, but connecting with the outside world is what they need
mm.
now. They need to get this in sync. And I think everybody is aware about this. But it as everything in life, it gets a little bit more complicated than when you should do it. So you need to have a good service provider that supports you in this.
Absolutely. The more you go down inside
Yeah,
processing, the more complex it gets. But you're right. If you've got somebody on your side helping you, then it
yeah,
makes it a little bit more easy, doesn't it?
yeah.
Hearing you talk about manufacturing, do you think that there are some verticals which are more ready for this than others, or do you think it's more a case of company size? What do you think is more important?
I think in a way the ones that embrace these things first is that what I call tier two companies, the mid-range
Mm,
companies, because they really need to be very, very efficient. And if
mm,
they can find ways where they sort of dramatically can change the landscape where they operate in, by getting this information to their fingertips and correct information, they will do it. And they are there. They understand it. So I wouldn't rule that out. Larger organizations have more of a tendency to believe that they will always exist, and
yes.
and, and that is maybe a problem. But I think that I mean we all have to do this.
Mm.
It is not if or not. I mean we have to.
I guess, yeah, absolutely now. And even now, even more so than ever, isn't it? So to some
Yeah,
extent in the past, before some of these mandates existed, people could choose, particularly like you say, a larger organization could choose, well, you know what, we're perhaps an insurance company, a banking company, relatively cash is not necessarily a cash rich company. We don't have to look at what some companies still consider to be a back office transaction. But
yeah.
you talk about their invoicing, but you and I know that you can create competitive advantage, can't you, by doing something like this?
Yeah.
So, I mean, e-invoicing and e-invoicing mandates is just one of the topics that we're going to be talking about at the e-invoicing exchange summit in Dublin. Um, what else are you looking forward to about the event? And also, obviously, you're leading the. You're going to be talking about the invoicing, sorry, the industry trends and industry voices. One of the opening panels to the event. So, what are the things you're looking forward to taking part in there or hearing about?
I mean, it's always good to meet everybody that's sort of involved in the business, and also
Mm,
meet, you could say, customers,
hmm
stakeholders, that to listen to their views of life and what are their sort of problems when to get them up and running and do things in the correct way.
mm,
And that that's, I would say, that's what the biggest thing here. Uh, we need to discuss also the political side, where you this very easy to make decisions around a lot of things, when it
mm,
comes to data from a political point of view. But when you're then going to build it or do it, and really deliver it, it gets more complicated. I'm talking about GDPR. Where should
yeah.
data reside? Where should it be processed? Where should it be stored? Who can get access to it, and so on. It's easy said that my medical data should not reside somewhere else. But
Mm.
then it has to do so also. It has to be done like that. And in some cases, it can be really costly.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be fantastic to hear about some of those industry trends that we just talked about just now, and also some of the challenges that you just mentioned. And of course, from my perspective as well, as you were saying, to meet everybody there. So, for anybody who is listening to us today and is not yet signed up, there's a link scrolling down below on the screen. So if you highlight that and put that into your browser, you'll be able to find all the details of the agenda. And you can come and join Bengt for the Industry Voices panel as well, and from the 2nd to the 4th of October, and we should see you in Dublin. But for this afternoon, thanks very much, Bengt, for joining us and sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks. All right,
Great.
take care, everybody. Speak to you later. Bye bye now.
Bye.